Good morning, happy people. My name is Jay Song. Good to see you. Everything in today's video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything is just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading in the markets carries a substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high-level trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. Last week, we began our 7.0 lesson series, Price-Based number 1, and it was a great introduction to our 7.0 series. I'm really glad to show you guys the things that we're going to be implementing in our art in 7.0 to keep things lively and simple, and I want to show you guys a great many of things. One of the things that we're looking at in Price-Based is to simplify the principles of RSI in a very easy way. I want to show you guys ways that we can use RSI in a very productive way. RSI is a very powerful indicator. A lot of people say, well, Jason, we should use more indicators and things like that from time to time. But really, there's only two main indicators that are apart from price and its internal structures that I like to use right now, and that's primarily RSI. And the ways we trade RSI is using the RSI pullback. It's a very powerful technique to read when price is trending. It's a very powerful continuation technique. It lets us know when there's a lot of momentum still in price. But now introducing RSI price-based, we're going to be adding that as a principle number 1. And principle number 2, the principle when price is moving upward, we have inward. When price is moving into health, we also want to see that inward divergence. So we often get it, we don't always get it. It's nice when we get it. That's principle number 2. We were discussing principles 1 and 2 last week. RSI pullback in the following months, but now we're just going to bring it together and make this a little bit more cohesive by talking about principle number 3. And I talked about principle number 3, but principle number 3 is when we see price structures in and of themselves moving into health, waiting for that confirmation before we take action, in addition to our price base. So let's cover it in depth today. When we have a marker of prices at a bottom, we can use that origin point in the past to mark approximately where RSI was. And we're primarily looking at the lows and where the color change is. So in this chart, the yellow line would be a little bit higher, where the color change is approximately here. And remember, the one we're using is the simple neural network transformed RSI, which is by Quantra Systems on TradingView. And you can use this, but make sure you turn off your color bar coding in the settings button. So you want to make sure you hit the little sprocket and turn off the bar coloring. So otherwise your bars will be purple and blue, which I don't like. We used this moment in the past to wait to see from a top-down perspective when RSI comes back and touches the price-based line. When it starts forming a price-based line, that would fulfill the trigger. Even if it's several years later, we can use this. In this case, from this 2-week chart, each one of these bars is 2 weeks worth of time. We had a bottom in the past. We know about that bottom. We're trying to find the next bottom in an uptrend. In that case, what we're doing is we're waiting all the way until RSI hits. Now, this is a beautiful principle because it happens not just on super large time frames, but it happens on very small time frames, such as hourly charts. For example, we did a Bitcoin trade just this past week. I was asked about Bitcoin, and they said to me, where's Bitcoin going in the next tomorrow? And we went all the way down to a 1-hour chart on Bitcoin, and using this RSI price base example, and I'll get the photo for you, I pulled up an hourly chart and made a prediction. About 2 cryptos, I made a prediction. Here is the Bitcoin chart on a daily chart. On the daily chart, we have a price base here, so we use that as our origin. We usually put a little yellow arrow, but here I'm just drawing by hand. We trigger the RSI in June to July, closer to the end of June. It formed a bottom. It hit again in August. We formed a bottom. It hit again in September. We formed a bottom. And it hit again in the beginning of October or near the end of August, and it formed a bottom. Of these that formed a bottom, only this one right here was triggered as a bottom, not the one that was in August. August's bottom did not have a health, but the one later in September came into health. And this is again going to be principle number 4. We're just going to add this as our principle number 3 within our RSI. Okay, so let's continue, and I'm going to show you now the Bitcoin trade on an hourly chart just this past week, so you guys can understand. You can use this on any time frame. Here is our top on Bitcoin. This is a 1 hour chart. This was going to be on October 6th. We have that bottom, but as we hit a low and come back up to this area, our RSI was telling us from a top-down perspective, which means we went all the way down to an hour. We don't just jump to an hourly chart because you can mess yourself up that way. It was triggering this area as a potential top. Of that, we had the foundational area hit the foundational area based on the trend line here, and it was letting us know we're very close to the resistance here. It's possible there's a top. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at the target system. When we pulled up the target system from that top to that bottom, the target told us it was here. So we drew the target, and you guys have this from our target system lesson, and it told us there should be a top about here. If price is rounding in this area, we're close to resistance, the odds become more statistically high that we're going to be reversing. So we want to take a short trade. If we were going to take a trade like this short to trigger the entry based on principle number 3, we want to make sure that we are cutting into health. So in the image I gave you guys earlier about XRP, we want to have a move that cuts into a health or cuts into a weakness. If we're shorting, that means that we pay attention to the foundational area. And by that we mean, how did the move start? How did its move start in its entirety? In this case, it moves up on an angle here. If we continue this angle out based on the flow of price, we can assume that price is in this territory is in a weakness area. If other factors tell us that this is really a weakness, not just the structures, then we may have a trade on our hands. The job is to put together the evidence. In this case, there is a weakness here. Now the trade we took, or the trade that I took this week from that day, was based on this last uptrend. The foundational area was here, and that means that the weakness appears here. Using weakness to confirm your RSI and to confirm your resistance is going to be a way to give yourself what other traders would call a confluence of factors. Some I believe they call it confluence of influence. In our case, we don't use those terminologies. We just like to have plenty of evidence that we're still within the territories of the downtrend if we're taking shorts. So in this case, we had 3 things that we were looking for to give us this trade. We had the downtrend. We were hunting the up move, which we teach in lessons number 1 in Sword Method 5.0 and lessons 1 and 2 in 5.0 and 6.0 series. We had the targeting system, which was giving us a roof on top. We had rounding action into that area. But primarily, we were using our new technique, which is going to be the RSI price base, which was also telling us at this moment where the top was. So again, on an hourly chart, our origin could have been easily placed here at the top before that major weakness came in. Weakness. Okay, that's our first weakness. So we know we need to stop trading uptrends during that move. The next thing we saw was we're in the downtrend and we come and trigger the RSI price base, which is here approximately in it was the day that we did our class, October 12th. Yeah, this was October 12th, ours, that it triggered. Okay, it triggers October 12th. So was it last week then? Was it Monday that I did RSI price base?
Monday
before I left on Monday. Okay, so it must have been before I left. Anyway, we triggered here October 12th. Today is October 15th. So Saturday, okay. And what happened is the trade comes down to its support and triggers, but you could not take this trade here because of principle number 3, which I'm teaching you today, and that is again to confirm your weakness based on your foundational area. So based on this foundational area, the trade doesn't get triggered until weakness is confirmed. This is one way to keep you out of bad trades, even if your analysis is correct. It keeps people from jumping the gun and helps you to be more successful when implementing the basic principles. Now, weakness could be used and applied to every single trade that you ever take, or whatever system of technical analysis you perform. I'm going to show you today 2 ways we can calculate that weakness with RSI price base. So this is why I call this principle number 3. And we will from henceforth use RSI pullback. Why is this not working? That's principle number 4. Okay. Oops, not 4. Entry. Okay. Yeah. For teaching's sake, let's label what we have, and we're going to use this technique in addition to our RSI price base. You're saying, Jay-Sung, you taught us that last week. Yes, but I needed to make sure you guys have a big focus on those so you can catch those entries. Okay? So we're going to use those. I'll need some cryptos that you can give me as live examples, but I'm going to show you back to our original photos what we are looking at. Okay? Okay, there's another trade. I did a live one, and this is going to be for SNX. I did this trade. I saw there was weakness in this crypto SNX. Here is our few price bases. Here's one on the 2-day chart. Here's a top in 2021, so that would be our origin point. Every time RSI hits here on the 2-day chart, we're looking at this area. We hit here 2 times approximately. One in the beginning of 2024, one in the beginning of 2025. Those areas were tops. If we were trading these, the foundational area for this one is not triggered until the weakness all the way in the year of July of 2024. So even though this is telling me, hey Jay-Sung, this is a top, I gotta be careful with trading it based on the foundational area. If I'm trading it anything smaller, you can cut those smaller up moves and reveal those weaknesses. And the next one, I really like this top because the whole area is already in a weakness. So if I was trying to say, okay, if this is a trade, or if this is a top and this is a top and they correspond to these 2 areas, the real meaty trade based on the uptrend is only this one because the weakness appears here. This is round structure into those tops. If I was going to try to trade this a little bit shorter, I want to be only cutting the smaller up move itself. In this case, a trade would trigger here and a trade would trigger here. Watching the next foundational area, we cut, and you can use those as an exit. In this case, this trade is very break even, or we lose only a little bit or gain only a little bit. In this case, the foundational area is here. This trade nets a lot more profit before the exit is triggered. In this case, you can use these as you can use these exits and entries based on health and weakness to be a lot more successful. If the trade is here, we're going to be paying attention to the foundational area or until we have another signal. In this case, This weakness over here tells us the foundational area is parabolic. It's bowed. See? So we would be looking for an exit somewhere. My drawing's inaccurate here. Letting our trade rise, this trade would net a lot more profit. Here's an entry. There's an entry. And again, that was our entry and exit with the X. This trade would net approximately this much profit before an exit would trigger. Okay. We're going to talk about this and just keep doing it over and over so you guys can see how you can take advantage of RSI price base. Why is this not going here? Okay. Waiting for health and weakness to give us those responses. All right, so now let's go to, I'm going to show you back those images. We're going to go to okay. Here is an example on gold. If you're saying, okay, let's use this in a bullish price, a bullish way. So of last week's tutorial, the origin point for gold was back here, and the year was near 1970. When RSI triggers again in the year of 1985, it's telling us there's a potential bottom. This is principle number 1, the RSI price base. Principle number 2 would be to see if we can get a inward divergence into that health on smaller time frames in this downtrend. Now, today's focus is not to focus so much on principle number 2, but to focus on principle number 3, which works hand in hand with RSI price base. Principle number 3, again, waiting for health or weakness to appear to trigger the entries. In this case, we would be looking simply for the energy centers of the trade to give us the health. Here is the health for this trade. This is when we can take the trade. The exit would be to pay attention to the foundational area and what type of curvature it's giving us, and use that as an exit to let our trade rise. In this case, the trade would only net us here unless we had another way to collect this top, which we do in our art. There's other ways we can collect tops. But in this simplistic sense, this would be the trade. Here's your entry, and here's your exit. Does that make sense so far? Okay, this would be principle number 3, adding these as your confirmations. Let's go to another example. Another example, I think this is going to be, we'll use all 3 of these ones. Okay, so here again we have another bottom, that bottom that's triggered, and a small trade. The next bottom that's triggered are going to be this area and this area here. This is going to correspond to these 2 areas. Only one has a very light entry here, oops, with an entry and an exit netting a 0 trade. The entry here gives us a much better trade. Here's your health, and there's the foundational area, and the foundational area triggers the exit here. This one will be a more profitable trade. All the while, we pay attention to the larger story that's happening with health and weakness. In this case, it's going to be this energy center here, the larger energy center forming, and this larger energy center forming. The whole move in its entirety triggers a larger health here. If these are bottoms, and we're not so concerned with the individual micro trades, especially on a 2-month chart, we're looking for the larger entry in its entirety. I'm showing you today the next series, if you guys are tuning in, the next in the series of the RSI tutorial. The next foundational area is very sharp and doesn't give us an exit until some time. In fact, that actually may be another support. If we're using the accelerated adjustment zones or adjustment lines, we would start using these principles and accelerate the weakness. The weaknesses are here and somewhere under here. this would trigger our first exit using this area. In this case, this would be a very profitable trade on gold. Trading gold from $280 to over $1,100. Okay. So our entry and our exit using health and weakness. Another bottom triggered in 2015. It's a nice bottom. We would look for the foundational areas. There's two of them. There's one here, so our health would be here. And there's a much more quicker entry as well based on these move here. So any of the foundational areas start triggering where those entries are, both large and small. In this case, this entry is not so bad. The foundational area in this, I'll give another color, we'll use red, has not been triggered, so an exit is not triggered yet. We start accelerating, we accelerate up to this area. If we had other areas to look at, we would go, but other than that, this might be a small trade. If we had reasons to stay in our trade, we can start looking longer. When you're using the top-down perspective, you want to be aware of the larger bottoms that are forming and what larger trades are happening because of these things. You can let your profits ride until you have a proper exit. You can also try to start using other techniques within our art, such as the accelerated adjustment lines, to find the next bottoms. But all of these accelerated adjustment lines have individual teachings that we've done over the years in our lessons page. Let's continue going a little bit further. I'll do you one more example here. Let's take one from that day. Let's look at the S&P 500. Here was one I gave you guys on the screen for S&P 500 at the time, using the price-based origin in 1932 for the S&P 500. It told us there was bottoms that were triggered again in 1970. So there was trades that we can start looking in 1970. In 1970, we had a downtrend like this. So our trade to the bullish side doesn't happen until several months later, maybe a few years later. Right here on this 2-month chart. Every 2 months there's another bar added. So once the bottom was in, we still had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. About a year later the entries start, and then we pick the next foundational area and we can continue trading in bullish areas. Here's what we're talking about. Using the down move to confirm the health, using the up move to confirm weakness, using those to help you with your trading range. Principle number 3. We need to make sure that when you're taking trades, even if you're doing them on the hourly chart, you wait for those weaknesses to come in, and then you can take your shorts and let your shorts ride. For a trade like this, we would say, okay, Jay Song, if we're in this trade and we're in a short for Bitcoin, and I told everybody that Bitcoin should hit about 111,000. That was the number I gave you guys for this week. Okay, in my video, yep. So the trade was only from 115 to 111,000 was the exit, which I gave everybody based on the resistance of the target, waiting for the weakness to trigger. The downtrend tells us the real full exit. Otherwise, we can exit at a profit, maybe where we think the support should be based on other factors. In this case, if we were just using a very simplistic, we'd still want to let our profits rise based on the foundational area. But because we turned down here, we want to use whatever angle that's going to give us to start accelerating based on the accelerated weaknesses or the accelerated strengths, the accelerated moves. Let me show you what I mean in a very practical way. So again, Bitcoin, here's our down move. Here's our next top based on our RSI price base. It was telling us there was a top here. The target system was telling us there was a top there. Okay, those were the images. The target, the down move was telling us there's a top here based on the foundational area. Remember, all of these are only on an hourly chart. Only on an hourly chart, okay? So you won't see these on a weekly. So there's our foundational area. We have not hit here. We're still moving down, and we did indeed trigger the short-term entry for the trade. So this one is a live trade for Bitcoin short based on its current weakness. Of here, we can start accelerating the down move. Let's accelerate the down move to see if there's an exit. What do we mean by accelerating the down move? What I mean by accelerating the angle is to, instead of waiting till we hit all the way here and lose our profit, if we trigger another energy center in this area, what we can do is we can draw those angles together to see when the next health may start to appear. This is how you can do some very short-term entries and exits. In this case, the angle would look something like that. Okay, let's use a green. And now I'm connecting these angles together. I'm not crossing through the candles. I'm using what I see. And you can see that this entry has not yet closed at the moment. Okay, we have not phased into health. That has not happened. So this short is still active. If we had other reasons to believe that this is a top and we're still in order going from the highest time frames down, if this is a top here, then we would still be in this trade. Okay, if we were to try to measure from here to here only on the hourly chart, we'd want to use something more like a 15-minute chart, and then we can look at targeting system to see if targeting system is also giving us a roof here, and then we'd want to stay in this trade. Ideally, we'd want to have exited at a more proper exit, and I have a long yellow line on a higher time frame here telling me, hey, there's some resistance here, and so that exit, the trade in its normal sense, would have already triggered an exit. But if you were basically only using the principles of health and weakness, the Bitcoin trade would still be active until, if you want to let your profit ride, until you get into health. So if, in short, if you have another target based on another part of your system, another part of your art, a major resistance, something big, you want to make sure you trigger those and exit accordingly. But if you're using only the RSI, then you want to make sure you use it in accordance with principle number 3 of the RSI family, and that's making sure weakness and health are part of your triggers and part of your exits. Once a great trader once said, the average person does not let their profits ride enough, and they often stay in way too long on a bad trade, and they don't let their good trades ride enough. I agree with them. I wanted to show you S and X. Actually, let's quickly do what I said we were going to do. So here's the Bitcoin again. Let's go to that 15-minute chart. We're going to let's go first to the 30-minute chart, right? Because we were down to 30 minutes, so we need to go to the 30-minute chart. Would we still be in this trade? Let's do our target system, fixed range volume profile. And we're now going to profile, just as we did the entire move, we're now going to do the smaller move that triggered the entry. Here it is. Fixed range volume profile from the bottom to the top. We have two tops. And it's telling us the target. So in this case, the target from this is going to be in this area. And you can see that when price came to the target, we went below the target. We are now building on the underside of the target and responding to it well, and we know that often as a negative thing. So price responding to this area like a roof is a very negative thing for Bitcoin. It's telling us, hey, over the next few days, maybe 24 hours, maybe by the time you guys see this video posted, it will already be complete. There is a weakness here. Now, how do I take this trade? The foundational area on this is a very short thing. It's a very small, and it's already triggering. But this is very small trades. I'm not doing the 30-minute trade, but you guys could use that if you want to. Ideally, we can continue doing the RSI principle over and over again, using the RSI price base for here, and seeing if this correlates to the top. Let's do that now, since we're here. If we were marking the top for RSI, the new RSI price base is going to be somewhere here. Let's use this color blue. Here's the top before the weakness. It's here. So we could correspond here. You're saying we could also use this. You could also do that. That's why we have multiple RSI price bases. But from a top-down perspective, the next top down is here. Now, using this RSI price base, we can see that we trigger, or very close to trigger, this area as the next top. So we would look in this corresponding area, try to identify the weakness if it appears, and use that as our confirmation of where the direction of price is going. In this case, Bitcoin's still going down. The next RSI price base on a 30-minute chart has been triggered. So in this case, I'd want to still be bearish Bitcoin. Okay. We're going to use the next accelerant for the weakness. Again, we're going to use these areas if they're top. This is an even smaller version of what we were just doing. It's the same thing over and over again. And we'd still want to be in this trade. Okay, so we're looking to hit sometime in the next few hours, maybe before the class is over. Possibly, here's the times, October 16th and October 17th, which is tomorrow and the next day. Okay. Sometime before then, price will have to make a decision by phasing into health or phasing into more weakness. Okay. This is just a very simplistic look at how we would take an entry and exit using this. Let me use the SNX example. This is a trade that I'm in live right now, a shorter trade. We looked at SNX and we saw that again XNX was hitting resistances. We're still in a large downtrend. We're now looking for smaller entries on a crypto in a downtrend. It's very easy. We hunt the up move. Is there any relevant up moves that are triggering? Right now, the foundational area is here, giving us an angle such as here. There's no downward shorts that are telling us right now, but there was important resistance. Let's cover that resistance. The resistance on SNX is a larger downflow of the entire move, and we can connect these tops together to tell us, hey, at 265, there's a top. That was where we were live in class session on a weekly chart. We looked at a few things, in this case evidence in the volume, and the RSI indicate that this is an important top. Structure in the downward parabolic tells us also, let us look for prices to fall back to lows. So how do we take a trade like this? We know in the larger sense, if this is a top, we're going to want to try to cut it for any short-term thing. So let's show where we're at with this trade. Going back to the weekly chart, we looked at, let me pull up my, okay. So there's our top for SNX, and again, the 265. Here's a daily chart look. You can see on the daily chart, so far since that top, current price is 198. We're rejecting here. Does this trigger an entry? On the weekly chart, the weekly chart does not have an entry that is triggered because the move is, the foundational area is way down here, and the smaller up move is not enough candles to give us a practical entry. However, smaller entries do start becoming apparent. So if we were on a smaller daily chart, we have this bottom, and we can use that to trigger an entry somewhere here. Okay, we can use that to trigger an entry somewhere there. These entries have not been triggered. Oh, not that one. Yeah, that entry has not been triggered on a daily chart. Let's go further, therefore, only to smaller time frames and see see what's happening. Here's a 6 hour, here's a 12 hour, and here's a 1 hour. On a 1 hour chart, the foundational areas is also telling us there's no major entry. Okay. Here's our foundational area based on these somewhere here. And if we're all the way going down lower than a 1 hour chart, we do have a possible entry. Where? Here. But you got to be careful with these ones because the larger these trades are not in alignment with the larger trade. If you're in here, you want to be in here for a different reason, right? So in this case, this would not trigger an intraday trade because it's so far away from our higher time frames. We'd want to make sure we confirm it with something else on a smaller time frame. Okay, we can look for other things that may confirm this as being a top. Okay, the larger structure here, you could use that, but from a micro trading area, this is maybe a dangerous trade. Okay, the tops, the foundational areas are not giving a very practical top for this one. You'd want to be in here primarily only for the other reasons, like there's going to be some resistances. Okay, so if this is a resistance, it's not really triggering an entry. All right, let's move to a different one. By the way, you're close to a health. If prices do move into health, I don't think that's going to happen at all. Okay, have a reason why you're going to enter your trade and take your trade in kind. In this case, let's go back to let's make sure we draw the entries for the weekly chart in case we get it. It's going to be, in this case, the next one will be there, somewhere under this line. Long time, otherwise we want to bounce around a little bit and then we can cut those. All right. So I want to be here. We want to be here. Maybe we're going to move up and down, but somewhere in the future we want to take that trade. There's not a practical entry on the smaller time frames. Let's write that down. Add text. There is no practical entry on the smaller time frames for a short on SNX because they are not in alignment, the time frames. However, taking a trade, a short on SNX on the weekly chart could be done based on the resistance of 265 only, or other reasons. Okay, and if you have a trading method or system that tells you, yeah, you can take a trade on here at that area, praise God. Ideally, the best type of entries are going to be like the ones that are in alignment. You can keep confirming them from a top-down perspective. Let's use, again, more of this principle number 3, weakness and resistance, today to use with price base to continue furthering entries. Let's see if we can find some practical entries. I don't even mind if we find them on like really small time frames. Let's see what cryptos we got today. Let's see. Jason, can we look at goaded? Yeah, let's take a look at goaded. I want to use these and see if there are any triggered trades for our tutorial. I got goaded on MEX, so let's do that one. Okay, looks like it's going straight down. Let's see if we can find an entry, a better chart, sorry, and then we'll go from there. Goaded. Okay, 6 cents goaded. This one has the top. And this one doesn't have the up move. So we'll use these. Let's look at the volume. Let's go back to Gate.io. And we're going to use this one. It has a few more candles. Okay, perfect. All right, so now that we have this, let's go to a smaller time frame. We're going to cut it down from a daily to 12-hour. Always making sure that the candles make sense. We have a top. Let's use our principle. Okay, this is first let's do a better analysis and then we'll use this as an example. Ultra high volume on the up bar with the candle spread only here. The move is down and to the right. Signs that there may have been some heavy selling on that bar. And look at the volume. It's not exactly on this up move, but rather here. I think that was when there was profit taking. Done. The next profit taking, the next ultra high volume, the next very high volume bar is on an up move. The move is only to the right and down into weakness. Okay. Signs of selling. Let's go to cut this time in half from 12 to 6 and go forward. Okay. I'm going to do it one more time and go to a 3-hour chart. So we went from daily, 12-hour, 6-hour, and a 3, and this is good enough for me. Okay, so if I were to draw some structures here to help us identify weaknesses and healths, I would draw these. Based on its current structure, we're going to draw the health here. So this price is not in health. We can give ourselves a bottom using the parabolic principle. We'll bring it down to the lowest area, and we're going to focus so far on 0.42 cents being a bottom. The next thing we're going to look for is hunting the up move in a downtrend. Here's our up move. There's our weakness. So our first weakness triggers there on this 3-hour chart. This is a perfect example. This should be a perfect example. The next up move is going to be where? Go ahead and draw the next up move. We're going to do it together so we can take a short or a possible short. Then we're going to confirm it using our RSI techniques today. Draw on my screen, please. Can somebody draw on my screen the next weakness? I like this coin. I'm going to use this. We're probably going to be able to find an entry. Okay, nobody knows the next weakness on this chart, please. You hunt the... Okay, you can't draw on your phone. Hit the 3 buttons, and you can draw on your phone. Hit the 3 buttons on your phone. It'll show more on Zoom. Can anybody help him out? Anyone can draw on the screen? Find the next weakness. It's quite simple. On Zoom, you guys can click on you can draw with your finger. If it's too small and your phone is too small, it's okay. Okay, the answer, good. Good job, V. The next weakness is there. Here we're going to draw the small energy centers. It's going to be somewhere here. So this weakness has not triggered just yet. All right, so now we have a basic map. This is a basic view of Godin on a 3-hour chart with a possible short coming up as we hunting an up move. All right, let's now see if we can use our RSI for the tops. Let's start with this top. We're going to use this time frame. By the way, I'll put some volumes information here so you guys can have this. Profit taking. This is going to be some more buying coming in. This is going to be some profit taking. The move is into weakness, as I pointed out. The next high up bars here, that's also going to be profit taking. Okay. You don't want ultra high volume, or you don't want high volume on up bars into weakness. That means there's professionals dumping it or selling it. Not exactly dumping it. You'll see that over as a distribution phase, but they are selling it. The next down moves with short healths would be here. Very little buying coming in. The next up moves near this top is the best place to get out, and you're seeing very high volume pairs there. So this is going to be more profit taking. Possible profit taking. Now the reason I say possible in this case is because we don't have the weakness confirmed yet. That's where the weakness is. Unconfirmed. Okay. So that's why we want to use the word possible here. Here we know it is because the move was to the right into weakness. So we know there was profit taking in those areas. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. So here we have a look. This crypto's still negative. That's just my quick take on that one. So now that I know all of that, if I was using RSI now to try to find an entry, I'm going to pull up RSI and I'm going to mark my top and we're going to go down in the time frame. Here, here we would mark a larger price base. The problem with this top is I don't have any corresponding events at the moment. So this top cannot really be used at this moment. But we can still leave it and mark it on the board. So I'm going to put RSI, price base, 3-hour chart, and then we're going to give this a color, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to write the word origin, and I'll match the color to green. Origin. Okay, so no trades triggered by this RSI price base. But there's more trades that are triggered, and I'll show you where they are. No trades triggered by first 3-hour RSI. And remember, we have to go in order. That's what we mean by alignment. I'm going to show you how to take a trade on using just this principle. Okay? We know there's no trades because RSI has not hit. Not hit. Okay? No entries. Understand that? Everybody got that part right? Okay. No entry on that based on that time frame. So what do we do from here if we're trying to short trade this, which is actually good for short trades? What can I do next to try to find a trade on this if I don't have any trades at the for that large origin, for that large top? What do I do next? Anybody who remember who took the class last week? We're still looking for shorts on this one if we were trying to take shorts. The bottoms are not working.
Okay.
They're not giving us a bottom. They're moving into weakness. We're not focusing. In a downtrend, you want to use the tops anyway. From that lesson, that what we're going to do next, if you don't have a correlation, you use your next top. That's it. That's it. So here's the next top based on structure. This is the top right there. Okay, so that's the next energy center. The move before we go into weakness, our top is approximately right there. Got it? Okay. Now we're going to use that corresponding area of RSI and give it another color. It's going to be here. In this case, we'll give it yellow. So we're going to draw our RSI. Next RSI price base. This is going to be our secondary RSI price base top. And we're going to use that to trigger our trades. Okay. Now we can already see this is working quite nicely. We see it's working quite nicely because we trigger a top here and now. Those corresponding areas do have valid tops. Here, here, and approximately here. These need to be to the left a little bit more to line up. Good. So these areas are telling us top, and we can use that, but none of those trades are really valid if there's a larger move forming because we gotta wait for the weakness. But as it is, it's telling us, hey, this is a top in these areas. So let's now use the next one and draw it. Here's our origin, approximately here. Let's give this a color yellow. Label RSI price base, 3-hour chart, and we're going to give that a matching arrow to keep things color coded. We're going to give this a top. We're going to click origin or type origin. We're going to put the date October 3rd. Okay, origin October 3rd. And now we're going to make sure we do this setting. It's important. I'm going to click the RSI and I'm going to click the 3 dots, visibility on intervals, current interval only. I only want to show this on the 3-hour chart. The same with the other one. Click your 3 dots, visibility on intervals, current interval only. I don't want to see this on other charts like a higher time frame. It's going to mess me up. Top down approach only. We went all the way from a 12, 6, 3 hour. That's where we're at. So the 3 hour is saying, yes, a top is possibly forming in these areas. So now we can do a few things to start confirming the trade. Of these, there's no entry that has been triggered yet, but the tops are forming. I'm going to write this down. Top forming, no entry yet. Okay, no entry yet. Entry now is set up for here. If price were to come here, we're looking at now in a trade to the downside. Now, since it hasn't confirmed, hasn't activated, how can I make sure I catch this trade? If this is all I had right now, how could I catch this trade? We can easily set up an alert. So I'm going to click on this line, stretch it out a little bit farther. I'm going to click this on this toolbar, the alarm clock button. Looks like alarm. Click it. And I'm going to click under the message tab, and I'm going to type myself a note. Underneath what it says GOAT 3 hour. GOAT set up for weakness. Look for price to close below this line for a short trade. Okay. Now I'm going to click create. So that alert is now set up here. Okay. So below this line starts telling me, hey Jason, you can look for a possibly short. Remember, the keyword is short. Don't take a buy on that trade. Okay. If this weakness triggers, which it hasn't yet, I got myself a trade. And I know where to take it. And we can start talking about how low we're going to go. So right now, make sure I hit create. Right now, I'm trying to get out at here. Is there other confirmation we can have that this is a top? We can do the target system from here to here. If the targets are above us, we know that it's also confirming the weakness. So that's something I showed you guys earlier in the session. The target system, which is the fixed range volume profile. In this case, the target is higher in this area. We're going to move this here and place it on the board. I'll give you a price range for this, 0.1071, 0.091, 5. Now, I don't know if that's going to trigger or not, but there is a target there. And that's all I got. Will I be able to get this trade? Maybe. There's another thing we can do with RSI. When we're trading RSI, we want the principle of RSI pullback is built in to this technique. A lot of it's built into this technique. But right now, I don't have any round structure to confirm the top. We only have the parabolic as the resistance. Okay, so no trade, no entry just yet. Possible entry. We don't want to build up above there. That means we're going higher. Right now, that will end. Okay, this will end this part of the look at this crypto. Let's go to the next crypto and see if we can find some trades. Okay, that one's set up. In case I get lucky, we might get hit. Okay, I'll pull up the image. You guys can do the same. Make sure you guys take a screenshot. Okay, here's that image. You guys can have that for later. Okay. Let's look using these principles only. I'm trying to limit it to these so you guys can have this for the tutorial. Using principle number 3, which is the weakness to confirm your RSI entries. And again, the top down. Okay. I do not have principle 2 activated here as anticipating as price is going up. RSI is also going up here. All right, let's go to the next one. It's called prove/succinct. .82. What does that mean? Okay. Start at a higher time frame, weekly chart. I like to start with my analysis usually at weekly time frame. Prove. Does it look like this, Lisa? With that logo? It says about 82 cents. This one's 85. It's about where it is. Another new crypto. Okay. Here, let me write this on the board, by the way. Principle number 3. Weakness as weakness/health as confirmation. Okay. I got a crypto that's like this. Where is my RSI? Not loading. Okay, there we go. Possibly a push into a small weakness, very small, hard to read. Nothing in the volume. Some buying coming in this crypto. Small buying on the daily chart. Looks like a large profit taking, maybe the push right here. But apart from that, I would draw what I see structurally, and it's here. There's more things I want to show you guys structurally right now, but for this principle, but we're gonna wait until next week. I would be looking at this crypto being at a top here, and I would be loath to draw an up move here based on this. So we would look for the larger health and the larger weakness. The bottom is holding. We're going to use the wick match, which is going to get us a little bit further, I think. Okay, I'll place mine so there. I would not take a short on this one. It's very, maybe we would. Let's go down to the time frame full. Let's start with our RSI. Okay, there's no correspondence to the top, no correlating top. It's there. If you want to draw it, I'm gonna call this RSI price base. I'm gonna put daily chart, and we can put the corresponding arrow in the date. The origin is going to be here. Origin. August 12th, 2025. Okay. Visibility on intervals. Current interval and below for this one. I'm going to go to 12-hour chart. And now I'm going to look for my next top, which is here in this area, or maybe that small one. In this case, I'm going to use the larger structure, which is this round structure here. There. So the origin will be here for this next area. Okay. Give it a color. We're going to use yellow this time. It's going to trigger here as a top in this area. So the next origin, we're just going to duplicate this and change the color. September 14th. And the arrow will be changed to yellow to match. And then we're just going to put a blank arrow here, showing that we hit a top. So these areas are telling us that this is still a top. Okay, this is basically telling us this is still a top when we are triggering here and here on this 12-hour chart. Okay, so now we have the conditions for a possible top. Let's do our target system. And then I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to go from the top to the bottom, and we're going to try to see where the target is. And in this case, it's confirming more weakness. Here's our target. There's it right there based on our target system. And it's telling us we're in a negative spot being underneath here. But if we get into health, we're going to be able to get a little short distance before we hit the target. So let's now give this a label. 1.10, $1.10, 66 to $1.02, 89. Okay, so that's about where that hits. Okay, so all of this is telling me we're still a bit negative in this area. Okay. So we're left with this. If we wanted to trigger a trade, the conditions are met for here. All we need left is the weakness condition. So let me try to find a more appropriate weakness. I'm going to go down from 12. We're going to cut it down into 6. This is the structure while the candles still make sense. After here, they stop making a bit of sense. This is how I would draw it. Like this. Okay. If you agree with that, you can draw that too. It needs to be a little bit lower. The weakness would trigger, in my opinion, there, underneath this line. I'm going to put a little call out so you guys can watch it this week to see if you get a trade. All right, I like it. Weakness on this 6-hour chart should trigger an entry to short this crypto here, provided the resistance at, and I'm going to give you the number, 88 cents holds. Okay, so if you guys are looking for some fun stuff to do this week, this might be something you're going to be looking for. So I'm going to put a little W in this box just to keep things a little bit more coherent for everybody. You understand what I'm doing. A little E. W for weakness. Now this trade has not yet triggered. This trade has not yet triggered as of October 17th, 8 p.m. Nope, not 8 p.m. October 15th, 2 a.m. 2 a.m. Okay. So we can use that as a trade entry in that area. That's how I would draw that. This is a 6-hour chart. Now, how could I take that trade? If I wanted to go to sleep, how could I take it now? I could set an alarm. I will draw a line, invisible or very lightly, approximately of where this should trigger. So I'm going to move it from here to there. I got a maximum time of the 19th. Price is either need to move into health or phase into weakness. I'll put that in also in the notes. This has a maximum time of until October 19th before price needs to phase into this weakness or move into health. RSI price base has already triggered a resistance on the 12-hour chart. Okay, so let's now turn this alarm on. I draw a trend line. Okay, you guys can see this. You can follow along. Here's what I'm doing. I'm now going to make that line thin because I don't really need to see it. I just need it to trigger. I'm going to hit my alarm clock button up here on the toolbar. The alarm clock, I'm going to click. Now I'm going to go to the message tab. Look for price to close below this line. If so, a short trade has triggered on Prove USD. Prove. Okay, you're saying, how can I take a short trade? One of the ways you can take a short trade on these cryptos, if you guys are new, on your exchange, when you log into your exchange, you're going to hit the futures button. If you have USDT.D or other USDC, you can move those into that part of your exchange. Most of your exchanges have the futures trading option. In the futures trading option, you want to fund it and make sure you set your leverage back down to number 1. So it's like 1-to-1 or like a 2 leverage. You got to be very careful trading with leverages, because you can get stopped out. It will tell you your exit price. You need to make sure you have enough currency on hand for that trade. For example, when I did a trade this week, I moved double the amount of money that I would take for the trade. So I did the trade for, I think we did it for $250. So I moved I think something like $500 I moved $250 and I traded half of that. Yeah, that's what I did. So I moved the trading only to half of that money when the entry triggered. I only did it as 50%. I made sure that the leverage came all the way down to 2, only 2. For me, that was, I don't want to do anything more than that because I'm not trying to bet on big on any of these trades. The Bible says invest in 7 ventures. You never know for you do not know what will befall the land. And you don't know, you can't guarantee, you can only stack odds in your favors with all of your trades, right? So of the trades that you're triggering, even if you're trading a Bitcoin down from that 115 to 11, you don't want to throw too much money in there. So if you're going to be doing another leverage trade, you want to make sure you add more money and make sure you have a good buffer. It told me that, hey, the exit is such and such price. That's the liquidation price. If price goes really high, then it'll close me out and I'll only lose that portion of money that I put in there. And this is called isolated margin, which means it doesn't affect other things. It just affects that margin account. So when you're trading, you want to make sure you have a good buffer zone. You're not over leveraged because it's so easy. They'll let you trade like 20x leverage and sometimes even more on some of these cryptos. It's crazy. They'll let you just get in debt. But if it starts going against you, if the trade starts going the wrong way, you don't have that buffer zone. If you're too over leveraged, your trade will get stopped out. Even if it wicks up and comes right down to where you thought it was, you'll lose a lot of money. You'll lose all of your isolated margin. They'll close it for you if you're over margins. So when you're trading in the futures market, you type in the crypto that you funded and you hit the sell button if you're shorting, and you can actually make money when it comes down, or you can make money going up by doing a long. It's a short or a long that you're going to do. So be careful over leveraging. Be very careful. Don't do that. This is never financial investment or trading advice of any kind. This is only for entertainment and comedic purposes only, never to be taken seriously. Okay, everybody got that screenshot? You got it? Can I move on? Okay, I'm going to be looking to short this week, possibly, if I'm building underneath here. Okay, and then I'm going to take the short and I'm probably going to exit at this base here. Okay, now let's talk just quickly about an exit so you guys can have your exit plan. The foundational area for the down move has not started yet. I don't really have a solid foundational area because we're not even there in that territory, so I don't even know the angle. But we do have the larger angle, so for right now, that's going to be where my exit's primarily going to be, somewhere down here at 60 cents. So I'd be looking for this to move approximately 39% to the downside. Okay, we were trading at this low of 62 cents and 57 cents just a few days ago on September 29th and October 10th. All right. Any other questions this crypto? In case you have time later on, can you check on the RSI based Pepe? Yeah, maybe I might be able to. Okay. All right. Let's look at ZEC. Did anybody have any other questions regarding that crypto? Okay. How to do this? Okay. We're going to go to ZBAC. Okay, let's go to our weekly chart. It's a good start. Hey, not ZBAC, is it? ZEC. Yeah. ZAC. It's a new one for me. Looks good. Alright, let's see where we're at. Here's Binance. Let me look at the volume real quick. Got some dangers. I got some big concerns about this crypto. I'm going to go to a 2-week chart, and then I'm going to go to a different exchange. Oh, wow. So this crypto had a large up move this week. Okay, lack of interest, move down. All right, hold on. We are at an old high, but we also have some support here, and I'll give you the exact price. We moved into health above $108. We're going to draw a sword cut in that area. 115 to $103. I'm going to use the volume in these areas. Told us there was some profit taking that was taking place, but when we move down on lack of interest, the move is done. The next move is into health. There's our health here. There's our down move. There's our move into health. Our foundational area is solid. This is a good foundational area. Let's draw that support, our foundational area here. So this got a lot of good safety nets for us. I like this crypto, what's happening to it so far. I do not like the profit taking at this old top. And right now there's very high volume, much higher than these old areas, and that tells me that there's a lot of trading to the upside that's still going to take place. But right now, I don't like to have this ultra high volume just at the top. We're going to want to isolate that and make sure if it's just at the top, there's going to be some big profit taking by those in the past. But the fact that the volume is still high and rising tells me that we're going to be trading higher in the future. So already, I'm looking for this crypto to do well in the future. Okay? And I'll write this down in the note here. Based on the increase in volume, I am looking for this crypto to do well in the future. Okay, based on the increase in volume at the challenge area. Okay. So that's what I would say about this. And the date is October 15th. The next thing I will look at is the bottom, the event line. The event line, you guys remember from our tutorials, if we move into health, how high are we supposed to go? We're supposed to find resistance at the last event. Does anybody know where the event line is here on this chart and how high we are supposed to go based on this principle? And I will show you. I'll show you guys in just a moment, but let's see if you guys can get it. Can somebody draw the event line on this chart and where it should go? Okay. If this red line is showing there's a health, how high is this crypto supposed to go in the future? Now this is a longer term chart. It's a 2-week chart. But how high are we supposed to go? Somebody tell me where the event line is, please. Nobody? You guys remember our event line tutorial? Somebody's got it? Good. Somebody's drawn it. Who drew that? In purple. They drew it. It's down there. Yes, that's correct. Whatever angle, the last thing that happened, the event line is the last event or the last energy center event that triggers before the health. So in this case, price was moving like this. It's a double bottom or a multi-touch flat. If we're being very accurate, it's actually here. Okay. Let's draw it together. Here's the bottom. There. See? It's a flat. Good job. Fantastic. I'm proud of you, whoever drew that. Who drew it? Somebody say me in the chat so you can take credit. Good, Bridget. Good job, Bridget. I knew you had it in you. All right. The next thing we're going to do is, of the event line, let's give ourselves the resistance. So where does the event line go? Now that I have it, where do I place it if I have verification that it went this far back to February of 2017? Where do I place this event line to let me know where the resistance is? Somebody draw it on my chart. Okay, it went all the way back to 2017. So now we got to place it somewhere. Where do we place it? There? Okay, we can draw it here, but there's a better place to draw it. Where's the other place? The better place to draw it is somewhere else. Where do we draw it? Circle the area we're going to draw and why. Does anybody know why we would draw it there? The next place. Okay. We can, but it's really not there. That would act more like a reverberation. Okay. The answer is here. The reason the answer is here is because this is the highest energy center. This is the highest energy center within this structural area. So if this is the angle and it has 3 spots, this isn't the highest, this is. Okay? So the actual oscillation resistance we're looking for as a target is there. Much higher. Now that's good news for ZBEC because for ZEC, because ZEC has is at $265. So we're going to look to extend that out at the core area, and current price is $265. So we're actually going to be looking for this to perform up to $600. So let's grab that. So the event line is now at 698 to 618. So there's still a lot of good money left on this crypto based on the structure. Let's put that in the middle. There's still another base from current price 135%. Now this is not triggering a bull trade right now. We haven't gotten that far yet. We're still building the map. But right now that we're left with something like this, okay? Okay. Now let's continue. I don't see large money coming in on the down bar. So I'm not looking for this to do anything in the future this high right now without professional accumulation. I don't see professional accumulation on this chart. So you guys I'm just going to put this in my notes here. October 15th, 2025. I do not see professional accumulation. And I looked at the volume on the exchanges for this crypto. And we'll confirm that. This is a look at Kraken. Here is ZEC on Binance. We'd want to see professional money coming in on the down bar, the down move. We don't see a large money coming in there. We do see some buying coming in here, right there. So this is another look at an exchange, and that's okay. We see that. But this is only small buying. Small buying only. Okay, identified. It's not how you spell identified. Okay. ZEC. Now, of this, let's go back to our Kraken chart because they got some more candles. Let's look at this carefully to see if we can spot what's happening. If the bottoms are forming, let's use now our tutorial. We're going to be using more of our continuation from our RSI price base to our RSI price base. So let's go. We're going to look at the bottom and try to find corresponding area. I do not see a correspondence with this area, but I do at this bottom. So this bottom before the health there's our down move, there's our health. Our RSI was approximately here, right? So that's going to be our origin point. So we're going to mark this area at the color change, and I'll give this one white. It is telling us RSI price base, bottom and to the left, RSI price base, what chart? 2-week chart. And you could put the date here if you wanted to, December 19 origin. We're going to put our corresponding arrow. It's here. I'll match the color. December 19th origin. Okay, good. So RSI triggers and tells us there's a bottom here in October of 2023 or June of 2023. A bottom is forming. All right, here's our bottom. It starts forming right there. So here is telling us there's a bottom. This would have triggered a trade. Where would have the entry of this trade have triggered based on the entry for RSI? Somebody draw the entry using principle number 3 weakness and health as confirmation. Somebody show me that. Draw the trade. Okay, draw where the entry is. Circle the area where we would have gotten in for a bullish trade using RSI price base. Circle the area where we would have needed to take the trade if we were going to be bullish. Where is it at? Circle. No, not that one. Somewhere after here. This arrow right here triggers the bottom, but where is the entry? Just because we're at the bottom doesn't mean we trade it. We look at the foundational area, how the down move started, and we draw where the next health is. I didn't draw it for you. You guys are going to have to draw it. Draw the foundational area, then draw your health, and then you're going to draw the entry. It's quite simple. RSI told us there's a bottom, but we need confirmation. We can simply draw and take a trade. 10 more seconds. It's quite simple. If you guys get this, it's going to be a very powerful yet simple principle. There it is, Bridget. Good job. Do you see what she's drawing on the screen? She's drawing a parabolic, and she's circling somewhere here. That's the answer. The foundational area tells us, hey, we're going down along here. So we're going to continue that structurally, and it's going to tell us there's an entry above that line. So let's put it all together here. So the entry for this crypto is not at the bottom. Even if we have the bottom, that's well and dandy. We want the confirmation. That's principle number 3 that you guys will need when using RSI. Okay? So let me hide my lines, or hide your lines. And I'm going to mark this here. I'm going to put the little notes so you guys have this. In this example, RSI price base triggers in the end of 2023, telling us there is a bottom possibly forming. The trade, however, is not triggered until mid 2024, right? Mid 2024. This is because the health was not in and confirmed. Price was only at a bottom. And I want to say possible bottom. Okay, does everybody get that? Price triggers here. Okay, I'm going to hide myself so you guys can see. Do you see this? This is the entry for the trade. Now, my next question to you, entry. Where is the exit if this is the entry? If you guys were paying attention today, I told you we can enter at these helds at RSI areas using the weakness and resistance principle. Where is the exit for this crypto? Based on just this principle. Somebody draw the exit for the for this. Or is there an exit? Who thinks yes? Who thinks not? It may or may not be a trick question. Thoughts? Okay, let's break it down. And I'm going to show you the image. Is there or is there not an exit? If you've been paying attention in the last few sessions, you're going to understand some very important things. Okay, is there or is there not an exit? Nobody? Nobody brave enough to put themselves on a limb? Okay, Bridget says not yet. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. This was based on RSI price base. This was a top. If price is oscillating, both sides of top and bottoms are going to work. This was our top. We could have drawn our RSI origin here. Could we not? Look at the RSI here. We could say, okay, that was a top. Yeah, we know that in price, that would have been our origin point. Would this have been a top? Yes or no? Based on RSI price base. If I was using this top as an example, would that have been a top? Yes. Okay. So this was telling us this was a possible top. Now we're not fully doing this, but it also tells us this is a top right here, right? But look at the move down. This is a top, but now the bounce down is very much weak. This move down was strong. This move down is weak. And then we move into health based on the area. It's very likely the tops are weakening. So you could say right here is a top at the blue line. You could say it's a top, but you could also say maybe it's weakening. So this would be a proper exit based on the next RSI entry, but based on the actual principle itself, using just weakness, there's no weakness yet. So you'd want to let your profit ride unless you had a target at the top. In this case, we have a target at the top. So the answer to the question, yes and no, both are examples. I could say, I want to get out here, take some profit. If you had another reason to trade at this, as this is the top, we'd want to take some profit. Based on the volume, we know we're going higher because the volume has increased at the challenge areas 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So we know there's too much trading going on. We're probably going to see the line break to the top. Are we breaking to the top now? I don't think we're breaking to the top right now, in my opinion. Okay? So you may want to lick your ice cream and look for another entry possibly at the next health. And this is the next health. Okay? So you're probably, so in my opinion, you could say we want to get out. But the basic principle is to let your profit ride based on the foundational area. In this case, we got it. Okay? All right. So I think I'm going to stop there for that one. And I'll put these in notes. 280, 257. I do not see professional accumulation on this crypto. Health was triggered as a trade example in 2020, in mid 2024, and the foundational area does not show an exit yet. We are not in the next weakness. However, there is some profit taking options available near 280, the blue line, 280 to 260, 257. This is now. And then we want to remember that this is going to challenge again in the future. Higher. Overall, we are still looking for higher prices in the future towards 698 to 619. Okay, based on our map today. So we can really paint this beautiful picture of what's happening here. Okay, all right. Anyone have any other questions regarding this crypto right now? We'd only want to be looking for the bullishness. And I'll give you a short-term exit, by the way, as a freebie, because I'm such a nice guy. Here's your shorter exit. The date is November 18th maximum. So that means we'll either move into weakness or continue in the health. November 18th. Got it? All right. I'm going to put an alert for myself real quick. We'll move on. I'm going to go all the way to today's date and just draw a little line across here. make the line really thin, and an alarm. Z-bag, crossing the line, look for more health or weakness, and we know that based on the side of the line that it will be on. Okay, so anytime it gets close to here, I'll just get an alert for myself. The next crypto we'll look at for today's tutorial, Fifi through Ascendix. New bottom after losing health and our side to confirm absorption. The next request comes from Superfood. Okay, so let's look at Fifi through Ascendix. What is that? I'll flash on my screen my wrapped ether look. I'm in weakness area, but now let's look on this Ascendix. Is that a website, Superfood?
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Hey, my friend.
Yes, the Ascendix exchange. I believe you did that on the last
And it was
image.
It was a website.
Exchange.
Okay, let's go to there.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the crypto, and we're gonna go to. So I'm on the website Ascendix. It looks something like this. I'm gonna click the word markets at the top, and then I'm gonna go to the search bar. We're gonna type in Fifi. Okay, Fifi USD T.T. There it is. We'll take a quick image so you guys can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna click this. So let's click on it, and it'll load something. Great. It's gonna default to a 15-minute chart here. Let's go to a weekly chart view, and there we go. So we're looking from November of 2024 all the way down. We can see some rising in volume here at the bottom, but the move is to the right and into health. The health is very short-lived. We challenge again. There's no absorption. We still have very high volume, and then the move is to the right and into weakness. And that's going to be important. Okay, no trade that's triggered, but possible buyings coming in near these bottoms here. Let me see if I can make this chart a lot bigger so you guys can have what I'm looking at. Okay, I'm going to draw on this chart so you guys can make sure. And let's see if I can put some comments on here. Okay, and let's add some call out. Large buying coming in, but no current health, I should say, to confirm. So I better put possible large buying coming in. Now, so far, I'm drawing this large area. The only health is small and short-lived, but currently we're in a bad spot. Okay. This is a weakness. That's why I said no current health to confirm. Okay, so we're going to extend out the next energy center, which is this one, using the format. And this is why I want to get to next week, because we're going to do basically the same session we did today, but we're going to be using gesture next week, which is an advanced form of parabolic. So I want you to show up next week, and we're going to be using that much more coherent. But I'm trying to keep things simple today, even if I have to build upon previous concepts. All right, so of this crypto, there's some money possibly coming in. Of the challenges, the volume is still aggregately high at letter B. So the volume is still overall high. The relationship from A to B is still aggregately high. So not absorption and control has not taken place. Okay, we got to remember that. The buyers may be coming in, but buyers have not absorbed. I'm going to add this to my text so you guys have this clearly. You see these principles over and over and over and over and over again. You're going to get them in you. although buyers may be coming in, they have not absorbed or controlled the supply at this area. Okay, that means price needs to play lower or challenge again until they can win the absorption game. And I'm going to put that in the notes as well. This means price should be challenging lower until they have won the absorption / control game. Okay, that's a simple way to put the laws of supply and demand in volume. Okay. Now, structurally, this is not a good spot to be in. If this is your flat, especially if we see high volume into the down move this week. And we don't see ultra high volume, so it's not the end of the world. There's rising volume, so there's still some buyers coming in, but we need the health. So let's draw the full health for everybody, and we'll move on. See, how come all the other website exchanges can't be like this on TradingView? I wish they. So superfood, if I was you, I would be not buying it yet or looking for it to do anything until we get above here. That's how I would proceed if it was me.
Yeah, gotcha. I noticed that it gained to 0, and one of my low buy orders went through. But I don't see the next health. You already mentioned the next health, but what I'm saying, the bottom bar.
Oh, yeah. Let's take this parabolic and find it, okay? Where's my circles? Man, I don't got any circles here, do they? I'm going to just use one of these symbols. Here, we'll use that circle, okay. So I want to buy above here. And the other place I would like to buy, if you're a person who's just putting low buy orders in, then you want to buy at the parabolic. You want to duplicate it. Ooh, how do we duplicate this? Come on, here we go. What I would do is I would duplicate the parabolic to the low side. In this case, it's going to be there. Ooh, that's low, isn't it? If you get lower superfood, the numbers are 003. So let me put the price label, and you can be on your merry way. So I might be looking for their superfood. Yeah, 003. If you can get it, especially if this is a weakness right now, and it very well, I think it is. I think it just needs to cook longer in the oven, especially if we're not in a buy zone. We need to cook a little bit longer, in my opinion.
Oh, thanks. Okay, the next question. I see that they're accumulating, but the RSI, they're not absorbing.
Yeah.
And am I looking for... Basically, just look at the RSI and see if it just goes lower.
The RSI will, since we're in a downtrend, the RSI may already confirm a top here, which we could, I don't know if we can do it on, because I don't know if I can load the Quantra on this one, but that's probably going to confirm a top. We don't have a real bottom to confirm. I mean, there's might be, in the RSI, you might be able to use it, but we're still in the downtrend, so I don't like to, when we're in downtrend, I'm only using the tops. When we're in uptrend, I'm only using the bottom. When we're oscillating, we can use both. In this case, we're only going down, so I don't want to use the bottoms on RSI. It might give me a false signal.
Good morning. Did you see my drawing?
No. Did you draw something? Show me again.
This is what I saw. Oh gosh, wait a minute.
Okay. So you see, like, she's drawing an arrow that looks like that, like rounding, and then you see a move up. Okay. Good. Thank you, Triple J.
Thank you.
I'll draw that in purple. Okay.
Yes.
So we might be looking something like that. Give me myself an arrow. And then we'll probably have an up move from there. What I would probably want to do, Superfood, is since there's still buying coming in, we'd want to see absorption. We want to see hold on. We want to see a time when we get to the bottom when the volume is still low. If we continue challenging, but the volume keeps... If we continue challenging low, but the volume's still rising, but more than these areas, that means that this crypto still got lower to go. So we want to see them test the low with very low volume. That means there's no players here, and then we're going to look to play still and health. If you get to a low, like 003 and the volume's really low, you probably have a nice entry because that means the down move is dissipating. There's no players left. I'll write that down here too. This should be re-examined lower and needs to and should, and the volume should be low or look like lack of interest, and that's the key word, lack of interest. This means the players are done shorting. Okay, just like in a distribution phase, Superfood, we would see price starting to mushroom overs. If price was at the top, you would eventually see the sellers losing steam, right? You want to see that happen. You will see eventually they're done taking profit. That would be that would mark the end of a distribution phase, and generally there'll be a reversal to the end, so prices will start falling. That's how it look in reverse. In this case, it's the same thing. The ones who are dumping it and the buyers that are buying it, the transfer, the price is finding its balance again, but the sellers have to now be removed from the market. Those who are dumping the supply have to be removed. So it shall show in the volume here, and generally it's going to be confirmed in the health. But if you're going to buy it anyway down here, buy it on low volume. Okay.
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 Jason, I don't know if it's because I'm concentrating on this chart, but I have 0008 as the lowest that it was back maybe a year ago.
Okay.
And I know that I'm only concentrating on the Senate, so I'm not probably getting the whole data.
Okay.
So this 00030 zeros and an 8.
Yeah.
I know you have 2 zeros there, but you're saying that this could be that low?
Yeah.
Wow.
And look at the candles. They don't... I've been doing this a while, looking at charts for a good portion of my life. These candles don't look right on the daily chart. Do you guys agree? Does anybody agree? Look at this. Look at this mess. Look how many times the candles on a daily chart just not moving. Very mechanical, right? That's not natural. Price should be more flowy. Okay? This is not natural. So when that happens, you want to focus on higher time frames. So even if you do have targets on your daily charts and stuff, Superfood, go to the higher time frame where the candles look a bit more organic. Okay? Even if you don't like what they have to say, or you do what they have to say, trust candles when they're more organic. Okay? So according to the parabolic, based on these three areas, it's going to be closer to there. Let's see if I can get you just a hair higher. No. If anything,
Jason, I did notice that when you first opened up the Sendex, the candles, they were just looking like what you were saying, mechanical. Are you saying that the bots can be involved?
No, just if there's not enough money in some of these cryptos, or the exchange is lesser known, at least I shouldn't say the exchange because it's generally the same price across the board. If the crypto is less known or there's not a big market cap, that's one of the reasons. The other reasons might be because of bots and the trading is very mechanical. But in any case, you want something very organic. You want it to feel... You've been watching charts for a long time, so you get a feel for what's odd and what's not.
Yes, the smoothness, exactly.
Yeah, that smoothness tells you there's human players. So it's possible that it's just over-traded on short time frames. Look at this. Here's a daily chart. Can you really trade this? You know what I mean? But on the higher time frames, if you get the bigger picture of what's happening, you can trade that. Let's move on to the next. Let's go to Jeff's.
Thank you, Jason.
No problem. We're going to go to Jeff's DSGX. And remember, today's a tutorial, guys. It's not a normal session. We are talking about principle number 3 of RSI price base, and that's to confirm with weakness and health. This is from the Disquera Systems Group, DSGX, NASDAQ. All right. Okay. So here's a look at the daily chart. Candles all over the place, but not as mechanical. A lot of gaps trading. We're going to use this to our advantage. We're going to go to a higher time frame, smooth out things, and go from here. Okay, it looks a lot like the S&P 500. In an uptrend, we can really use those bottoms to tell us, just like I did in our previous example, we can use the S&P 500 to let us know, using RSI price base, where the bottoms are coming in. Again, we got bottoms correlating from 1932, triggering in 1970, 1979, 2003, and 2009. All of those were bottoms telling us that bottoms were coming into the market using this principle. The principle number 3 today is to make sure we're confirming with health in these areas. Principle number 4, the RSI pullback, is built in to principle number 1. Okay, which is the RSI price base. This tutorials are designed to help you master RSI in this way of reading your charts in RSI. Okay, so let's use this to our advantage by finding our more relatable and corresponding bottoms. Here's a bottom in 2022. Let's see in RSI where it's playing out. Here's our bottom in 2022. Let's mark it with RSI price base. So here's the price base for RSI. We're going to mark the origin. Here's our origin, and the date is May of 2022. So origin, May 2022, and we're looking on a weekly chart. So I'm going to put this as RSI price base weekly chart, May 2022 origin. All right. Now we can see, using this, that we trigger a bottom in the year, this year, 2025, in April. So it's saying, hey guys, there may be a bottom here in April. We need health to confirm, which is principle number 3. So in April 2023, price tells us there's a bottom here. Wouldn't that be nice to have known there's a bottom? Do I have an entry on here? Yes, we do. It's a very small one based on this foundational area. So there's going to be our down move. There's the foundation, the top, and there's our health. Very small health. Weakness triggers here. Very weak trade. So the bounce is becoming weak. We need to see, is there other evidence that the bottom may be very low? If there is, we need another health. The next health is simply here. Okay, so let's draw that and see if we're still in play for RSI. So we're gonna, it might even be a parabolic, because this isn't straight, so it's going to be somewhere here. Good. So I'm going to draw where the health is. So even if there was a bullish trade, it's not triggered just yet. Okay. Let's draw our low, and we'll focus on what's going on in the volume in just a moment. We're going to be looking at the volume at these 3 challenges, A, B, and C. Okay. Now let's continue further. Price base bottom indication. I'm trying to make sure that all of this is labeled for you guys more in a proper way. All right, so according to this bottom, we may be forming a bottom here, and this may be a pullback based on this low. And that's nice, but we cannot take the trade. All right, so this is nice. We cannot take the trade. Have we triggered again on RSI? No, we have not. We're near there, maybe over the next maybe over this year. Here's about December 29th. Okay? So let's put this in our text and we can come back to this. October 15th, 2025. RSI DSGX. RSI is triggering a bottom, but there is no trade to be had because price has not moved into the confirmed health. RSI can be triggered again with the larger overall move, and it may happen around December 29th. This is a weekly chart, and it can also trigger above, and I'll give you the exact price. We're just going to draw where that health is, above 104. That closes need to be above. This can also trigger with closes above 104 as of today. This number is dynamic negative. This means that as time goes on, that number comes down along the track. Okay? So if I was doing anything today, I would be looking for this major trade to be a bullish trade, but not yet. All right, so when can we take action? Above 104 or at the bottom. Now let's look a little bit further in the volume and see what we find. Okay, so in the volume, where's the volume? Here's the volume. Okay, we can see what may be happening. The volume is ramping up on this down move, but the move is not in the health. If it was high at the very highs, we'd be using that as selling, as a weaknesses. But let's look carefully and see. Here at the very top, there was very little volume. Here at the very top, these three bars, there was very little volume. Look at the volume at the top, guys. Is there profit takers here? Are they really the profit takers? I don't think so. I don't think so, in my opinion. The highest volumes on the down bars and it moves to the right. Look. You can say maybe this one has some high volume. Yeah, but look again at the down bars. They're also still high. I think more buying is happening in this area. What I can see in the volume is more buying coming in. However, this needs the health to be confirmed. This, therefore, is unconfirmed as of now. Okay, so we can see that in the volume. See, no volume, no selling, or very little. Okay, we're seeing also the rise. So if the move is here, it would be bullish, but it's a rise of volume, unconfirmed yet, but possible buying coming in. Now, why did this not show? There it goes. Okay. Yeah, that's better. All right. Was there any other things I needed to say about this? I don't think so. That's where you want to focus on. Any other questions regarding this stock? Okay. I think it's probably going to do. If you're going to pay for it, you could pay $93, but be aware weakness may continue. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to check the challenge areas at the bottom. Okay. All right.
Hello, Jay.
Hello, House.
How you going?
Good, my friend. What can I help you with today, my friend?
I just wanted to say, I'm going to draw on your wee chart for a second. Do you know sometimes when you post the image notes?
Yeah.
Sometimes if they're too close to over here on the screen, when you put them up as image notes, we can only read half of them.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's only if you have it over to, if you have it over here, sometimes when the image notes come up, for some reason, I don't know, we can only read like this amount. I just thought...
Well, is that you guys' experience too? Can you guys confirm that, please? Are you also seeing that same thing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Jed, they're too afraid to say to you.
Don't be afraid.
They're afraid you're going to turn into Big Bad Jed.
Okay. Sometimes I do.
Also, I heard a number the other day when I was waking up. Let me check it. I wrote it down here. I don't know if it means anything. 627. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know if it means anything now at all. It might mean nothing. But I was thinking when I woke up a couple hours later, I wonder what that means. I thought maybe if it meant USD T.D spiked to 6.27%. Or I was thinking maybe it's about... Then I went into CoinMarketCap and looked at the 627th crypto. But I don't know. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's anything for USD.
627 you said, right? You said 627?
Yeah, that's what I heard, 627.
Okay. The maximum time for this to move into health is February 2026. All right. Any other questions about this crypto? Or I'm sorry, about this stock? Okay.
Okay, so can you take a look at the target analysis?
What just happened? Where's my image? Hold on. You want me to look at the target analysis?
Yeah, that's right. I'm not sure whether I did it correctly or not. I just want to confirm. Thanks.
Okay. All right, I had to copy and paste the piece on there so that this will show up. Okay, guys? So this is around February, the maximum time, February 2026. Okay, health, weakness, or resistance weakness, and then that would be our big weakness right here. Okay, we have not triggered these as of yet. I think price is going to play challenge here again based on the volume. All right. Maximum time 2026. This is dynamic negative. This is going to go down the track accordingly. I would be looking to pay 92, but I'm not looking to get in until this can be confirmed into health. Ideally, I need to buy above this line. All right. And I'll do your last target analysis, and I'll move on. It is a support here, just a little bit lower, has not been triggered. In there. Is that the numbers you got? Is that about the area?
Yeah, I got it correctly.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's how I see. Yeah, it looks like this one's already triggered as a resistance. So we're going to fade that one a bit. And then the lower one has not been triggered. So I will put the number on the board for those who are stock traders. $87 to $84. Good. And the other thing you need to be aware, my friend, okay, on the volume, because I just showed you the challenge area has not been removed, okay, while they were talking here, because the challenge has not been absorbed on the low side, what that's going to mean is you're going to need to challenge again. Look, see the volume still, if anything, is still equal to B and C. So you're not done playing here. That's why I put in the comments, you're not done playing here. So what I'm going to be looking for this to challenge her back at 92 again. But if the volume is higher, that means you're going to burst through the bottom. Okay. If the volume again is higher at $92, once you get back there and the volume ain't lower, you're going to see this go lower. Okay. See the supply challenge area, not to 92, has not been absorbed yet. Look for price to stay lower here. Okay. And then you're probably going to be able to see that target of 87 hit if the volume's higher. If the volume is all the way absorbed, I'm not really looking to hit 82. Probably want to pay 82, set some alerts for 82, and then you can go from there. I'll set an alert as well, and you can do it the same, okay? The maximum side. Re-examine volume. Let's move on.
That's an inside joke from House's nephew.
God. All right, looks
My
like
nephew was talking to
what
he
happened?
was talking to the chat the other day. He was running in and out of the room saying, "I'm on the chat. I'm on the chat."
All right, I'm going to give you guys one more crypto. We're going to look at Alex's crypto, the D Pepe. Yeah, RSI best Pepe. Let's see if we can trigger some more shorts, because I'm bearish the market right now based on some of the things I found in the USDT.D this last week.
Are you like getting out of the market, or are you just?
No, that's not. I'm not looking for a crash. I'm just looking for things to cool off for a bit. I was short coin from 115 to 111, as I told you guys on Saturday on the hourly chart. We already triggered there, but based on the territory of USDT.D, we need to play in the higher region for a bit. So therefore, I'm looking for some of these cryptos to pull down a bit. So that's why I'm bearish. Pepe. Okay. Hold on. Here we go. Pepe. Is this the Pepe, the base Pepe, the one that's 000007? Can somebody confirm? Because this is the Pepe I have.
It's not the Pepe. It's base Pepe. It's the one that you did the other week where you said you put it on the strong accumulation.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Like we're looking at it.
The radar. Okay.
Yeah. It's 1-4. I think it's a bunch of zeros, 1-4. 7 zeros, 1-4, 7-2 is what I see.
Okay. Let me look at my large accumulation list. What did I say about them?
No.
Based Pepe. Okay. Added to large accumulation. Absorption complete. Needs breakout above 7 zeros 34. Prices at a low area. First target is 6 zeros 24. So we need a breakout above 7 zeros 34. Okay, so where's my entry trigger? 7 zeros 34. Okay, so I don't have the breakout. That's going to move down to here. Let's take a look at the volume. Yep, so we still have a strong absorption. No health to trigger entry. That needs to say that. This still update October, what is the day? 15th, 2025. This still has absorption as complete, but the entry trigger above 0.734, 7 zeros, dynamic, was not triggered. This number comes down the track. As of next week, the average is, and let's get the average. So that's just going to move down the track. So as of next week, the average is 2.8. So 2.8. 7 zeros 2.8. No entry still has not been triggered. I'm looking for confirmation of the health. All right, so you guys have that, what I'm looking at. All right, now structurally, let's look at this structurally, and because we're going to need to update this. We have a parabolic to the top side, possibly. That's based on the bottom side. Of the bottom side, of the cores, we're cracking below the bottom. Let's check now the wick resistance, the wick side, and I'm going to wick match this bottom and that bottom, and this is a weakness. So we're going to, let me close my VZB or fade this away so it's not so confusing. Okay, so there's my wick side, and I may have one more wick match based on this old wick here and that one. either way, right now, we're still at a very low number, and the volume is gone. So this is a very good candle so far, but we got 4 days. This is a good candle. We want to be at lows with no one left to play to. Signs of absorption possibly happen, but the confirmation is the move into health. We still don't got the move into health, so we need to be above there to really trigger an entry. Now, using our RSI principles, let's see if we can find a corresponding bottom here to today. Now, this is the earliest candle I have, so I got to be careful using that. I want to see if I have other candle I can use. Let's see. Based Pepe. Does crypto.com got a farther date? No, they do not. Is that the farthest we go? Farthest I go. Because it's not this Pepe, is it? Yeah, it's not that Pepe, right?
Yeah, it's based Pepe, so I'm guessing it would be on Base or Coinbase if that's what you got. Sorry, I'm in the car, so I can't see as well, but
we only have, then it's fairly new, right?
a couple years, maybe. A year or two, maybe. 2 years, somewhere there.
Why don't I not see it on Coinbase here?
I got, oh, sorry, maybe just 1 year. Pool created 8/8/2024.
We have the Pepe on Coinbase, but it's... Is it this one? Is it this one? This is November 2024. Was that the date you guys have?
So on Dex Tools, it says it was created 8/8/2024. I don't know.
8/8, August 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. We'll just continue using the one we have right now. Now... Yeah. Okay. Let me pull up the RSI and see what we got. I don't have a corresponding bottom that I can use on the weekly chart or the 2-day chart. The tops are working. This top corresponded to this top right here. Meaning if we picked this top here in May of 2025, it told us there was a top forming in July 2022 with a very short weakness on the, probably a daily chart would have triggered a weakness here. And of the bottoms, we only have this bottom we can use. No trigger. And we don't like to use bottoms in a downtrend. So I'm waiting. So really, this is not going to give me much. RSI is not going to help me much right now. Okay. Make sure I click the current interval only.
So I need to rewatch the first lesson. So I apologize for this.
No problem.
Basic question, but as I look at that RSI and I compare it to the top and a general rule, it looks like we're way farther away from a top than a bottom, correct? I can't.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you some good news. I like this that we have a better health for us on the daily chart. So I'm going to draw that bottom. We're going to give it a blue color. Look at this bottom here. Look at the top. This may give us a good entry, Alex. I think you're going to be able to get an entry off of this. Let's use magenta. Since we already did the big bulk of the work in the volume already, if price moves into this health here, I wouldn't mind getting some. The price for that health is only 7021, and that's not far away from right now. That's a lot better than the current white line. So this one is a lot more steeper here. And let's see if I can pick the next bottom, by the way, using this top right now. So this is telling me that support is at 7012 and current price is 7014. So if anyone's going to buy it, you probably want to wait. You probably want to see if you can pay 7/0/13/33 today, if you're going to buy it today, since we're just so darn close to that bottom. Otherwise, I don't want to pay a low price. I want to pay the higher price because I want to make sure I get into health, which is going to be somewhere here. That's how I like to pay that. I really want to stay above this parabolic. I don't want to enter into a round structure here. Otherwise, we're still going down. This is the safer entry. This is a more quicker entry. I do not have RSI price base telling me an entry right now. I don't want to use these bottoms in a downtrend that is unconfirmed. So I don't want to use RSI in the downtrend just yet. The tops are still active, but we got a lot of room. So we're probably going to see this come up, and then we'll see RSI give us some kind of short-term exit, and then we'll see this starting to change. Okay. Overall, the big entries are going to be here. I'll put some stuff on, and I'll add this to my comments. Okay. Furthermore, I see a smaller health appearing above 0.70 20. So you can mark an alert for yourself, by the way, guys. Here, I'm going to do one for me. I'm going to draw just a straight line from this top down. And then I'm going to set my alert. That's how I'll do mine. Look for closes above this area for health. Okay. Create. And possible entry. Now I'm going to say this. So furthermore, I see a smaller health appearing above 7 zeros. I do not have RSI price base as a signal, since this is only the downtrend. All right, now I'm gonna look at the volume. Yeah, the volume is still quite nice. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this one. Okay, I like it. If you're gonna buy it at a low, along this parabolic is a low. That's where we're at right now. The bottom here, we're at basically a bottom. We're very low. We don't want to be building in this area and stopping, because then that's going to give us a negative area. The health is what's really going to trigger the entries, and right now the main one is here. So that's where a real trade needs to start. Okay. Anyone have any other questions for these, my thoughts and opinions on base Pepe? Star, small star, and this area is where I think we're going to hit. Prices below here trigger down moves. We don't want that if you're trying to get an entry. So no entries triggered. This is my big entry. This is when the move should take off. It's high right now, very high. Take a screenshot if you need and zoom in. I'll try to make myself a full screen. Okay. All right. God bless you all, my friends.